Good. Hello, good afternoon, dear teachers. Good afternoon, dear friends. Thank you for being here again. We had a wonderful session in the morning, and now we are going to have another special session with one friend of us. Welcome, welcome to our Nutesa'S International Summer course. Remember, Nutesa this year is going to be 80 years. So imagine 80 years working for you and with you. Okay, Lourdes, good afternoon. Good afternoon.
Hi, good afternoon, Patricia, and good afternoon, dear teachers. On behalf of Nutesa, thank you so much for being with us this afternoon. So today we have a great presentation too this afternoon, by the way, and we have general guidelines with Benji. Benji, hello, good afternoon.
Hello, good afternoon, Miss Lourdes, Miss Mati, and Teacher Andy also, and dear teachers from all over Peru, right? So we are going to read some general guidelines in order to have a clear session. So the first one is mute your microphones during the session, please. Number 2, certificates will be awarded by session. To obtain them, you must attend all the complete sessions. Number 3, you must fill in the link in the chat box for your certificate and for participating in our raffles. Okay, there are two links. Yes, we will send you your certificates from March 7th on. And at the end of each session, you will receive a survey to complete it, right? So don't forget to fulfill. No se olviden de llenar sus datos, por favor, porque con esos datos podemos hacer la rifa y también podemos hacer lo que es los certificados. Si no lo llenan, no lo vamos a poder entregar, okay? And don't miss our raffle at the end of each session, okay? So what we have next, Patty?
Yes, okay, yes, it's really important, right? The two links that Aimee is going to be placing in the chat box are important. The first one for your certificates and of course for your participation on our raffle. So remember to fill in the link with your information. And at the end, before the raffle, antes de la rifa, vamos a poner nuestra encuesta. Saben que su opinión es muy valiosa para nosotros para poder mejorar y ver herramientas o estrategias que ustedes requieran. Okay, so let's go on. We are going to start. Let me continue sharing. Yes, this is the topic of this afternoon. Stories everywhere with everyone in every way. A nice topic, right? A very motivating topic. And here we have the pleasure and the honor to be with Andy Cowell from Ellie Publishing.
Hello, hello. Hi, Patty.
Okay. Patty.
Muted me. Yes. Now. Yeah. Somebody muted. I don't know. They don't want to listen to me. Okay. Andy Cowell has been in ELT publishing and training for 30 years, having worked in over 40 countries with thousands of teachers. He is passionate about creative use of ELT materials and motivating teaching professionals. Andy is known for enthusiastic, we know, and practical talks, encouraging teachers to try new ideas and connect language learning with the real world. He is also a writer and international speaker, giving workshops, talks, and webinars on many areas of ELT. Andy grew up near Liverpool, England, and now lives in Glasgow with his family, films and film books collection, and his 2 guitars. He loves travel, film studies, photography, comedy, and playing rock and roll, and blues music. Welcome, Andy. Welcome again.
Thank
and
you.
The floor is yours.
Muchas gracias. Thank you, Patty. That's what a lively introduction. I feel like I'm there with you. And thanks to everybody who is attending right now. I'm just going to quickly share my screen and get started. But I am looking at the chat box for any comments, questions that you have. I'll try and keep an eye out on what's going on in your minds. And I want to make this interactive as much as possible. So this is your session. And I'm also going to send the slides as a PDF to Patty and the team. So that in the next couple of days, they can, certainly with my permission, you can have my slides and my links and my email address so that everything, you know, you see from me is available to you forever. And I suppose the first thing I want to say before I share my slides is that, you know, you're like any conference, not just my session, but other sessions you've seen today. I would like you, as maybe, I don't know how much you do this, but I would like you to think about maybe 2 moments in the next week and the week after and the week after that. Let's say the next 2 to 3 weeks. And I'd like you to think about, not now, but maybe later, 2 occasions in those next 3 weeks where you can spend 30 minutes going through the notes you've made and any session information, just to look at it again. Because in my experience, going to conferences or webinars, I see a lot of things, and you know, we all come away with great ideas, and then the next day we're at work and then it's gone. And I think that what is so wonderful about these sessions, and certainly a conference, is we can learn so much. And I think at the time we feel that we are learning, but then life takes over, it gets in the way. And I think that a good CPD activity, a continuing professional development activity, is to put in your diary an unmovable date with yourself and your notes for 30 minutes twice a week to just check a few things and then try them, because that's what we would want for our learners. Otherwise, this is just another session that comes and goes. And I really care, like all of us, that we get better and better. And the way to get better is to practice as teachers, as language learners. And to do that, we have to put in some extra time. I know you're busy, but it doesn't have to be a lot. And that's why I say 30 minutes twice a week. When could it be? In a cafe somewhere? Could it be when you get up in the morning, if you're an early riser with your coffee, or a late night, just to go through some things that maybe you forget. And then you think, oh yeah, I'm glad I looked at my notes again, because I could use this tomorrow. And I talk from experience, because I do this too. And for a long time, I didn't do it. And I think that's my main message before I start, because I and my colleagues in the conference will be sharing so many things, and we have to revisit those tips. So, and it's a good practice. It's good professional practice. So enough of the instruction. Let me share my screen and get started. And I'm going to be talking about storytelling. Just quickly, can you see my picture of the forest and my title? Just to check you can see everything. Can you see a forest and a path? Yes, good, right. So I'm starting now. I don't know where this picture is. It could be anywhere. It could be your imagination. I like to think it's a journey into our imaginations and our language learning journey. So I thought I'd have a nice inspiring image. And I don't believe today that I will tell you anything, you know, incredibly new. But what I like to bring to teachers is just a way of looking at materials and being creative and taking things off the page, because we all work with course books. That's important. Course books are like this picture. They're a path, aren't they? Or a path, if you speak like the Queen, a path through the forest. It's a roadmap, okay? But, you know, like any journey, you don't have to stick to the path. I mean, it's safe if you stay with the path, but you should look up, look around, take in the view, explore. And I think that my main job for a long, long time, and I love my job, is I take course books and then show teachers how to make the most of it without the students feeling that they are looking at a course book. And it gets harder and harder as the students get older, but certainly at primary, we have a great opportunity to capitalize on their enthusiasm, their playful nature. And that's what I'm going to do today with a couple of stories out of a course book. Yes, I'm a consultant with a company called LE Publishing, and they produce some stories in a course, which I'm going to show you. But what I'm not going to do is work with the exercises of a course book. You can do that in your own time, and that's important. And I think the parents like to see that because they can see what their child is learning. It helps consolidate some of the rules and grammar, but we want, above all, for English to be fun and, you know, to make it meaningful. And let me just go to some of the things that we know about storytelling in English language teaching. That's not a definitive list, but I think we can agree that there are so many wonderful reasons to use stories in English language teaching. You know, it's communication, it's a familiar format, it gets them to be, you know, active, they can act, they can use their imagination. It teaches them English through the story, which is also memorable. I mean, what child doesn't want to hear a story again and again and again? You know, they love that. And I think whilst I'm not telling you something new, I'm going to come later to something that I feel I put into an article recently that I'm going to share with you to read later. And that's because I think that you're primary teachers, but if you are not a primary teacher, this is still okay. All right, maybe with teenagers and adults, we're not going to use fairy tales and, you know, classic stories like that. But the other second point I want to make, the first one is to review our information during the weeks ahead. The second very important point is this: storytelling is what we do every day, many times a day. And what I mean is, I don't mean once upon a time, there was a big giant who lived in a faraway land, and there was a little boy called Jack who had a beanstalk. Now that's a classic story, and that's fun. And that's also in this book, actually. But just for a moment, think if you've told a story to somebody today. And by story, it could mean just 30 seconds of information. Can you think for a moment? And then as you think, you'll realize that we don't really talk about the weather. Even the British don't talk about the weather all the time. We may be saying, maybe there are functional conversations like, where are my shoes? Or, come on, we're going to be late, let's go. All right, that's language. But if you think about it, a lot of the time we are telling each other things that happened. For example, I was on a train today, coming back from a part of England with my son, and I was telling my wife when I came home that there was a very rude man who just wasn't very considerate. I was trying to get my bag out of a cafe, and he was rude to me, and I had an argument with him because I said, you work for this company here, you should be nice to the customers, and he wasn't very nice. Now, when I come back and tell somebody, that's a story. And if you think about it, we're always telling our partners, our loved ones, our friends, our colleagues, something that happened. Now, now, why am I saying this when we're thinking about children? Well, yeah, with children, we are talking about telling stories in the traditional way, but I want it to be really clear that we can teach our students throughout their whole language learning journey that communication is often through narrative. I mean, also, just think how many films we watch or books that we read. We are attracted to stories. And I think I want that to be a kind of clear message, because although many of these things in this list are true, you know, many classroom benefits are there from using stories. When it comes to using language, Spanish, English, it doesn't matter. You're going to notice, make a note for later, over the next few days, how many times do you tell a story to somebody? And I don't mean a long story. It could be, do you know what happened? What? Well, you could be on a Skype call. I was trying to get my camera ready, and then the doorbell went, and the guy is delivering a package, and it's the wrong package. And I said to him, I don't live here. And he says, well, your name is on it. And I don't understand. So that's a story. And very often that's what we're doing. And I think when we teach the language of narrative, we're teaching children and anybody how to communicate with others. And we love a good story, especially with drama, don't we? And gossip. Come on, how many teachers there like some gossip? Anybody? Are you going to admit it? I can hear music. Patty, I can hear music. Who likes gossip? Come on. I want to hear that. I want to hear the teachers out there. Gossip, stories about other people. Are you there, teachers? I want to see if you're interacting with me. Sometimes. Well, what about soap operas? You know, soap operas. Who likes soap operas? Yeah. People are nosy. We're all nosy. I'm going to show some activities that we use with children, not about being nosy, but about stories. And I just want to drive this point home. When we teach with stories in the primary classroom, everybody goes, well, yeah, that's great. That's what we do. And I say, yes, because it's laying the foundation for the rest of their communication ability. It's not because they need to know the story of Robin Hood and Goldilocks. It's the beginning of understanding true human communication. And I think, like I said, make a mental note over the next few days. How often do you say something to somebody that is a little mini story? I think that's really important. Otherwise, I think people who don't understand teaching, and parents often don't understand teaching because they went to school, but that doesn't make them teachers, is they welcome stories in the primary classroom. But if you talk about storytelling in the secondary classroom, they get nervous and think, well, why are you doing stories? My child has exams. Well, storytelling is a way of holding the context of language. It has dialogue, it has intonation, it has great use of many different tenses. So let's move on. And that's why I think storytelling, and of course, songs with children are so important. They do a very similar thing, but they also, remind them of the story. They make it fun, but of course, it adds to the memory. It adds a memorable component, remembering language. And of course, it's a great chance to speak and, well, practice pronunciation, certainly, and do things together. Maybe if they're shy, they can sing together. Just a quick question to you out there. Are you at the moment in physical classrooms, or are you teaching remotely? Roger likes anecdotes. I do too. I've got many anecdotes. You like role plays. Are you teaching in the physical classroom at the moment?
Not yet, not. Probably
Not
from
yet.
March on, when we start classes, we are going to be presentially, but probably it's a combination, like a hybrid teaching, right?
Okay,
half of
all
the
right.
class is going to be connected through remotely, and the other half probably is going to be in the classrooms.
Great. Okay. Well, that's coming soon, and you can apply these. I think I'm thinking at the moment more about physical classrooms, but we can certainly work together to adapt the ideas. And of course, the material I can show you today is available in digital, totally digital format, multimedia format, videos, audio, interactive exercises. And I'll explain later that if you have the books, you can use this with an interactive whiteboard or online remotely. So no problem. Okay. Now let's start with this character. I think you might. Okay, we're starting with young children. This is very much a primary session today, if that's okay. If anybody out there is not working in the primary classroom and they feel this session is too young, then email me at the end of the session. I'll leave you my email and I'll send you ideas on teaching storytelling with secondary and adult students, because like I said, storytelling is not about classical stories. It's about everyday communication with narrative. Little Red Riding Hood. Okay. I love grandma. And then you could start, before we do the story, oh, look, some of your students may know the story. And that's okay. We can use those students to help the others who don't know the story, can't we? We can ask them what they know. But let's start by warming them up. We don't go straight into the story. We would look at the picture, an opening picture from the story, and ask them what they can see. Maybe you can use simple English questions. You know, what can you see? What colors can you see? What is blue? What animals can you see? Let's try that. What animals can you see? My teacher students, you're my pupils right now. What animals can you see? Some birds. Well, I can see a bird. Yes, that's true. Squirrels. Yeah, rabbits. Yes, there are rabbits. And of course, I'm looking for one particular animal that's hiding behind a tree. So the students who don't know the story will suddenly, yes, there is a fox. No, not a fox. I can't see a fox. A wolf. Aha. Yes, a wolf. Flowers and birds. And of course, you can do a there is and a there are activity, you know, and you can do some naming of things. How many, you know, how many squirrels can you see? How many houses can you see? What is she wearing? Present continuous. So just with one picture, you can see a lot of things happening to warm up the children's idea of what's going to happen. Some stones, that's very thorough. Okay. And of course, the main thing I want them to identify is she's very happy. Okay. But there's danger in the woods because there is a wolf. And we can ask the students if they know any words, you know, if they see a wolf in the forest, how are they going to feel? Because Giovanna there says feelings. Well, at the moment, she's happy, Red Riding Hood. But what's going to happen if she sees the wolf? How is she going to feel? Anybody in the chat room? How's she going to feel? What? Yes, exactly. Scared, afraid, frightened, wary. And, you know, I personally, if you're working with a class that is, you know, they only have one other language like Spanish, personally, I would not make this only English. If I feel that some students or pupils will struggle by only English, I think that puts a lot of pressure on the children. I know many schools have a policy of English only, and I know that there's a sort of immersive approach that can work, but you know, they're children. I think we should make it easier. This is not a test. You know, I'm not starting my lesson with a test. I want them all watching the picture and me, and even the ones who feel they're not so good at English, well, let them tell me in Spanish what they can see, what animals, and then we can work together to build up the English on the board or on the screen. I want all the children involved, and if they know some English, that's great. If they don't know the words, let them tell me in Spanish, and then we can work from there, because otherwise we find, I think you agree, many pupils that are shy or they don't have enough language, they're not going to say anything. They're going to let the strong ones put their hands up, you know, and we want everybody involved. So that's how I get the thing going. Now I'm going to move quickly to show you something. This is, this is the story in cartoon format. But the course book doesn't start with the story. It starts with a picture and some colors. But did you see that what I did there was I took away the colors? So this is what I find very important about using course books, especially in the digital world and especially online. If you show the students a whole page from the course book, or even if you're in the classroom and you say, okay, everybody open your books and look at the pages, they're not really looking at the same thing. How do you know? You know, they're everywhere. They're not paying attention. They're worried because they can see the exercises are coming. So I love to do this, where I take a page and I just cut everything off and focus just what I want them to see. And I think that's one of the huge advantages of teaching online, is that I can make sure that everybody is watching the same thing, and I have complete control over what they can see. And then I can focus the language and the activities. And even when you go back to the physical classrooms, I would try and do this because it's much more engaging. You really can get the class to focus, and you can provide the language and then revise language, for example, with pictures, or before we go into a story. Remember, if they're looking at this in the course book, some of them are looking, some of them are lost, some don't know where they are, and this is a great way to focus the class together.
Page 10.
All right.
Activity.
I don't want that to play right now. As you can tell, there's audio. Now, of course, this is also a story that's teaching them numbers and colors. So for this session, I'm going back to basics. And it's a nice way to, this story is going to use colors and numbers. So you can incorporate this in your normal lessons you could make flashcards. You could cut. I think we all know how to copy and paste into documents to make little flashcards, and you could give the students different ones, or they could make their own little flashcards and identify, because when you play this audio in your class, they have to find things which are blue. So what can you see that's green? What can you see that's purple? What can you see that is yellow? And so on. And that's got you off to a good start. I hope. Now, in the next page that shows the stories, this is very typical of the material that I'm using. It's from a course book called the Story Garden, The Story Garden by Ellie Publishing. And it always starts with a picture, which I've shown you, and we're going to look at another one in a moment at a higher level. And then it has some work to practice the language, because you're introducing vocabulary, maybe a grammar structure, and then there's a cartoon strip. Now, the series has 6 levels, so I've chosen this one from the lowest level, and there's no writing really, it's just pictures. Oh, hello, we have a microphone. Thank you. So now, again, it's very tempting to open the page at the book, the double page of the course book, and say to the students, right, let's look, and then you could play the story, and that's okay. In fact, let's do that now. You could ask the students to look at the pictures, and let's just play the story so that you are familiar with the sound of the audio and how the story is told. Are you ready? Okay. Are you sitting comfortably, teachers, for your story? Okay, here we go.
Page 10. Activity 10.
Hello, children. It's me, Mr. Green.
Ah, Mr. Green is the man with the hair, the black hair, and a bow tie at the very top of the page. And Mr. Green is in the first few levels, and he's your sort of the pupil's friend who takes them through the course. Okay, so he's the man who helps them to go through the course book with you. He's like a sort of a textbook friend. So he's going to tell you now what's happening, and then you'll hear the story.
Listen to the story. Watch out for the wolf.
So watch the pictures and see if you can follow the story picture by picture.
Bye-bye, Mum. Bye-bye, Little Red Riding Hood. Watch out. The big bad wolf is in the wood. A red flower. Two pink flowers. Three blue flowers. Oh!
Hello, Little Red Riding Hood.
What's your name?
My name's Mr. Wolf.
The big bad wolf?
Yes, I'm the big bad wolf.
Bye bye.
Okay, so there you have it. The gripping story of Little Red Riding Hood. And I love the way that when he roars and frightens her, what does she do in picture 9? What does she do to get rid of the wolf? What does she do? Tell me in the chat. In picture 9, what does she do to get rid of the wolf? In the chat, can you tell me what does she do in number 9? She kicks the big wolf. Exactly, Claudia. Thank you. She kicks him. Thump, ouch, and she gets away. Yeah, she kicks him, and that's quite right. If the wolf is going to attack you, kick him in the knees. Right now, traditionally, that's what can happen. You open the books, you look at the pictures, and you play the story. She did, yeah. Now that's okay, but it's still asking a lot of the children to just simply watch, and that's okay. But my approach would be to ask you, how can we make this more engaging before we play the whole thing? And here's what I would do. Remember, we can easily copy and paste pieces of books nowadays. I would take the pictures by pictures and ask the students to, before they open their books, I would not even show them the pages. I would make my own little pictures from the book, and I would make a document. And again, if you're teaching online, this is perfect. You can ask the students again, what can they see? Who is it? What's their relationship? Maybe, and maybe you can elicit from the class. It's maybe her grandmother, a bit young, her mum. What's happening? Well, is she going home? And you say, no, she's not going home. What's she doing? And you pull from the students. She's leaving. Really? Where's she going? Let's see. Oh, what's happening here? Now, again, the students may not have the English to say, well, her mum is warning her about a bad wolf, or she's worried about dangerous animals. You know, that might be too much English to ask. So ask them in Spanish, because this is not a test. We are activating language. We're learning together. The story will be their chance to explore the language as you pre-teach through this step-by-step approach. Okay, now that's what I would do, and I would elicit that she's going to go for a walk maybe, and her mum is saying, well, you know, I'm very worried, be careful, watch out for the wolf. Okay, and then what happens next? Where is she now? And the students will shout out that she's in the forest, and what's she doing? And she's picking flowers. What color is the flower? So step by step. And can you see that, you know, we're not giving all the pictures at once. They're not listening in a big panic. We're slowly moving through the story. And as we do this, we're giving them the language that they are going to hear in the script, because in the teacher's book, of course, there is the simple script of the audio, and I'm going to show you that. But this is what I would do with a course book that has a cartoon strip. I would break it down and ask the students to work with me, to figure out. And as they tell me, maybe in Spanish, maybe in some English combination, okay, then I can start to build up what they will soon hear in the audio. And that scaffolds the task. That makes the students feel more comfortable instead of feeling afraid of listening to a story. I mean, they want to hear the story, but it doesn't mean they're going to understand it. And this is the way that I would support that. So she's in the forest, she picks one flower, she picks two flowers, she picks three flowers. And the person earlier said there's a fox. You're right, there is a fox. Children are allowed to respond with a word. Yes, they can respond with words. And if they know some English words, that's great. If one student really wants to tell you that it's a fox, but they don't know the English word, but that student maybe doesn't often say very much in the classroom, I'm going to ask that student, what do you want to say? and they say in Spanish it's a fox, and you say, okay, does anyone know the word for, I don't know the Spanish for fox. What is the Spanish for fox? Maybe I should learn something. What is the, we're going to come to gestures in a moment when we can act out the story. I just want to know the Spanish for fox. What is it?
Zorro.
Zorro. Oh, like the character.
Zorro.
Are you the man with the sword is a fox? Is that the name?
El zorro.
Wow. Okay.
In Spanish, yes.
What? So the film.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the same.
That means fox. I didn't know that. My goodness. Thank you. Okay. So let's move on quickly. And as you heard in the story, the fox arrives and frightens her, and she asks his name, and he says, I'm the big bad wolf. And you can get them to say that in the same way. I am the big bad wolf. No, that's not good English. That's boring English. I am the big bad wolf. And the children can repeat it. I am the big bad wolf. So now, and yes, like you say, we can do gestures. What does a wolf do? Well, you know, I'm the big bad wolf, or I'm the big bad wolf, or I'm the big bad wolf. So you've got to get them to maybe tell you what gestures will they want to do. And I think this step-by-step approach with pictures is a lovely way to keep the group together. You know, you've got to keep the group together. No one's falling behind. And then, of course, she kicks him in the shins and runs away. And that's the way that I would approach a cartoon strip. And I think that's really important, because if you use this particular course, you're going to have a lot of cartoon strips. And I think it's just fantastic. When I was a teacher, I used cartoon strips all the time, including adults. So I don't believe cartoons are just for children. Okay, I maybe would not use Red Riding Hood for adults, but everybody likes pictures and everybody likes to take part in a story. And yeah, they love to do different voices. Now, of course I did, because with computers, it's very easy. I took my pictures here on my document. I copied and pasted from the digital book, or you could take photographs with your print book, and I just mixed them up. So when the pupils do know the story, maybe they could work in groups of 3. I like groups of 3, and they have to work together. And you can see that I've taken away the numbers from the pictures. So now they can work together. And, you know, maybe that's an opportunity they can talk a little bit in Spanish. Because I think if you tell children it's English only, that I think that's really hard. At any age. I've been learning a little bit of Spanish lately with a class, and I love it when I can speak some English, because I feel I've been underwater and I can't breathe. And I think it's such a nice feeling to say to the teacher something in Spanish, and then we can go back to English. Why make it so hard, you know? Anyway, this is a nice way for them to collaborate together and decide that this is the correct order for the pictures. And yes, as somebody was saying, we can then get the students to act out the story. They could maybe listen again, and you could maybe you could model the actions, or maybe you could go back to this, you know, and then say to the students, what is the action for this story? What is the action for this story? Be careful. What's the action for this story? Picking a flower, that's easy. Reaching for 2 flowers, you know? So you could teach, or really ask the students, which action shall we do for each of the 10 pictures? Why? Because they're going to maybe listen again. Not now, we don't have time. They can listen again and do the actions for each story, okay? And of course, when you're ready, when you're ready, you can take the script. It's a very short script from the teacher's book, and I simply copied, I highlighted the text from the digital teacher's book and copied it. But you know what? If you can't copy and paste from a file, you can simply use Google Dictate, and the text appears, and you can correct the English. In other words, now I have some writing to work with. And this is not in the book. Everything, all these pieces are in the book, but I put them together in different ways to make it much more manageable. The book is beautifully designed, but sometimes I think if it's the same page, the same routine every lesson, students will start to get bored. And I think they love a teacher who's thinking like they do. How can I bring this to life? How can I make them feel involved? And when they're ready, maybe they can have these pictures on the wall of your classroom in order. So they come in and they can help you make the pictures, they can print them out, and one by one, they can put them around the classroom in order. And well, here's a couple of challenging tasks you could do. You could have this,
Page 10.
stop talking, Mr. Man. You could take these little 10 pieces of script and ask the students make different copies and cut them up into 10 different lines of script. And can they work together again, maybe in pairs, maybe in threes? Take away the numbers of the script and put the text under the right story. So you've gone from a very basic picture elicitation up to scaffolding more and more complex language with speaking, with writing, with reading, and with listening. So that's a number of different ways I might approach that. And of course, you might have the group, how many students in a class? Maybe 30, maybe 40. If there are 30 students in a class, put them into groups of 3 and then put 3 children under picture 1. Remember, we've stuck big pictures of the story around the class, and 3 students have to stand under number 1 picture, and 3 students have to stand under number 2, all the way around the class. And then they all have their little piece of paper to read. You can even have a Mr. Green, and then they all know what to say and they can read it out together. And that's good because sometimes pupils feel very shy about reading or speaking on their own. I mean, some of them love it, but some of them like to be comfortable. So if they're reading out the story, once they know it, they feel confident. And of course, they can learn it to act out the story. Okay, so what do you think of that? Is that an approach that would be new for you? Would that be a new approach, a creative way of doing stories at this point? Let me know in the chat. Would that be useful for you to do it like that? Or maybe you do this already. I think maybe you're just watching the story. I'll press on then. I'll move on. Okay, well, the good news is the teacher's book for this story course has lots of ideas for, if you can see at the very, very top of this text, don't try and read all of it. You can read it later when I send the slides, how to get the most out of the cartoon stories. And there in this piece, this is in the introduction of every level of this course, the Story Garden, where it'll teach you things like this, how to work with the cartoon stories in a very supportive way, a creative way, and interacting with the students in as many ways as possible. So you don't worry if you're wondering how to do this. The books will help you to do it. But basically, you warm them up. They can listen to some tips, and do some singing and acting out. And I hope that's a good demonstration of how I would do that with them. Just quickly let you know that I recently wrote an article about storytelling with any students, really, the value of storytelling. And if you'd like to read more about different kinds of approaches to English language teaching, not very academic, highly practical ideas and thinking, I've written a number of articles for Ellie, and if you go to that website, I think I have it here. I put it in the chat. Not now, you can look at it later, put it in your diary to look at later. There is an article there I wrote about storytelling, and I begin with a story about something that happened to me when I was a child that was very scary. It wasn't about a wolf, but it was about getting lost on the way home from school because of the fog when I was a child, and something happened. But I was okay in the end. Anyway, so there's a link, and you can read more articles there. So have a look at that later. And that's, again, more of my thinking. A lot of people would agree on the value of storytelling in life as well as in the classroom. I just need to make sure everyone has their microphone turned off. Is that possible? Just keep your microphones turned off. Thank you. The other thing, there's the article. There you go. Storytelling with Young Learners. If you download that, it's free. And when you are on the newsletters for Ellie, they'll send you more of those as they appear, which I'll give you at the end. So have a read. I hope you find it useful. And as I say, I begin with a story about being lost on the way home from school when I was a small boy. Also, you know, there's lots of things out there on storytelling. I'm going to do another one in a moment, but the British Council have fantastic tips on all sorts of English language teaching areas, whatever you teach, whatever age. And if you go to that particular website, you'll see it later when I send the slides. The benefits and tips on using storytelling is there. Now let's look at another story. Here's The Emperor's New Clothes, which is another classic. Also, like Goldilocks, I suppose, you know, these stories have a message. And there's a message in this story too, because we're not just teaching English with a story. Stories carry a message about, you know, citizenship, positive behavior, overcoming problems and managing conflict. And here we have a situation in the story of The Emperor's New Clothes. And in this one, we're going to look at the cartoon again, and we're going to look at the video that goes with each of these cartoon strips. But again, you know, this is a double page. It's lovely, it's beautiful, but there's already quite a lot of things happening here when I look at it. And I'm thinking, right, what do I want my pupils to really see? And so I want them to see just this. All right, so there's the page in the course book. And I think, right, I'm a creative teacher. I'm going to play with this. I'm going to hide everything and just leave the pictures. And that's the first thing that my students would see in the classroom, nothing else. They haven't opened their books. I maybe created this in my preparation time, and they see it on the whiteboard in the classroom or when you're teaching remotely. And they can see there's 10 things missing, and they can pretty well see it's about clothes. So why don't you tell me? We haven't got a lot of time at all, but in fact, maybe I should just move on quickly so I don't go too late. But I want the students to be shouting out names of clothes. In fact, I don't care if they're wrong. Yeah, thanks. Colorful resources and funny stories are great. I want them to be shouting out the words of the different things. And then eventually we can say, you know, we're going to be teaching them he's wearing or I'm wearing. The king is wearing a t-shirt. Number 2, she's wearing a dress. Number 3, where is number 3? Where's number 3? Oh yeah, he's wearing shorts. What color are the shorts? And remember, earlier we've done colors, so we could revise the colors. So it's a good way to consolidate previously learned language. And there's a song there too. But again, we're warming up the story and we're thinking, I wonder why we're talking about the emperor's clothes. And so we've warmed them up with the language there. Now, what we could do here is play the video of the story before they see anything. And let's see what they can understand. Let me play the story to you now.
Here you are. Here you please.
Hang on, wait.
Please. A jacket, please. Here you are.
Sorry, you have to start again. Here we go.
A jacket, please. Here you are. I like it, but I want a red jacket. But Emperor, you're wearing a red jacket. It's a special jacket. Only intelligent people can see the real color of this jacket. Ah, really? Okay. And I need a shirt. A white shirt. Here is a beautiful white shirt. White. Oh.
Okay, so when you have this clip, you can see the whole video. But what the story is telling us is that the poor king poor emperor can't really stick to his own opinions. He's not very secure with what he knows, and it's teaching us that we should really believe in ourselves. And that's a great way of learning from that story. Now, when you look at the cartoon strip, of course, this is a higher level now. There's more language. What I would do there is I could possibly take out the text with my copy and paste, not all of it, just some of them. See if the students can listen to the story. They can listen or watch the video or the audio, and then maybe help you complete the text. All right. Again, there's another opportunity for acting out the story. And I really emphasize again that in the teacher's book, and I'm going to show you some examples now, it really supports what you're going to teach in the unit, how you can approach each particular page, how you can teach with this cartoon and other cartoons, and the resources that can support you. So for example, here, when you work with this particular story, there are lots and lots of ways of the teacher's book to give you a clear idea of what you're teaching, how to set up the lesson, and then how to use the language in a more exercise-driven way. And in fact, the activity time is like the workbook, and Easy English is an element where it helps work with the students who have less ability. So there's a very strong differentiation and mixed ability approach in the course. And I think it's so important that then we connect the language with the real world. And this thing called Living English is the way that the units take the language. For example, we were doing clothes here from a classic story. What better way than to move to maybe uniforms around the world of children and of course jobs. So the students can identify that this isn't just an English lesson, this is helping us to talk about the real world. And there are real world tasks, and we can use worksheets from the teacher's book to help support that. And in fact, what I love is in the teacher's book, there's also a letter you can give to the parents, and they can see exactly what their child has been doing with you. You photocopy that and give it to the child to take home. And I think it's a beautiful way for the parents to connect. It's called the Story Garden. This is a new course, the Story Garden. I love working with it, and I'm soon going to be doing some physical visits. I'm going to Morocco soon to show some teachers over there who've started back at the physical classroom. So I'm very happy to come to Peru when I'm allowed in the classroom to show you what I could do. And here are some more examples of the kinds of stories that are in the book. Here is the Little Mermaid. Okay, again, starting by activating, thank you, Boris, I'm glad you like it. This activates the vocabulary, and then you go into the cartoon story. There you go. And of course, you could work with the film here. There's a film out there, isn't there? My kids liked that one. And as the students get older through the course, there are 6 levels. There's Frankenstein. I love Frankenstein, and some Sherlock Holmes. And as you can see, we've already moved now a long, long way from Goldilocks. And through 6 years of primary, you've got always leading with these cartoons, always leading with stories. And that's, as I said, a vital and important part of teaching. Now, just very quickly, at a glance, here are all the stories in the course, but I just have to be very quick so I don't take up too much time. Again, when you see the slides, everything will be there for you to see. Everything I've done today, you can see. I'll send it to the team at Nutesa'S. So there you go. Lots of great stories. Some of them famous, some of them maybe new to you. I think it's good that the kids don't know all the stories. Now, before I finish, I want to just make one interesting point about not just the course, but also what we're doing as teachers. Look at just read this from the newspaper, The Telegraph, in one of our big newspapers. Just as important to us are so-called soft skills, character skills, the ability to get on with different people, to articulate yourself clearly, confidence, grit, self-control. They are saying we are not seeing enough of this in kids coming out of school. And I will give you that link. There you go. It's just the one below the download link. Now, again, we are teaching English, but we are also developing young people to go out into the real world. Now, if your children are 6, 7, or 8 years old, to think about going to work is a long way, okay? But we are preparing them for using English in a global world, a virtual world, and this begins in primary. And it begins by teaching them the sort of skills that we know are so important, which are collaboration skills. I mean, if you look at what employers want, if you look at surveys, these are the top 5 skills that they want from the young people that you teach when they go to work. They don't really, they expect the students to have English, which is really it's such a shame. It's such hard work to learn English. But by the time they leave school, the employers are already expecting them to have English. What they want are these collaborative and soft skills. And that's why it's so important, even from the very beginning, that we are teaching the students how to collaborate and work with each other. And that is a very important thing to remember as we teach life skills, because education shouldn't be about facts. English is a skill, and it's about communicating, working with other cultures, and making the children realize English is not a subject. It's a skill for working with other people and getting a good job. And these are the soft skills, the life skills, or the 21st century skills that we talk about so much. Again, it's just a list that you maybe have seen many, many times, but sometimes I think English teachers will look at this and think, well, that's very interesting, but I teach English grammar, I teach English vocabulary. And I think that we should remember that even with young children, we are teaching a communication skill. And these are the things that they will do in English. And if you're wondering still what I mean is, if your students have perfect English, perfect grammar, and perfect vocabulary, does it mean that they can do these things? No. You need to learn how to make decisions and work with others and how to discuss with others. And if you're wondering still, think of the last time you had an argument with somebody in Spanish. It wasn't about the language. That was not the problem. Communication with the language was not the problem, because maybe you were speaking perfect Spanish, but were the interpersonal skills of the other person good? Were they really respecting you? Were they empathizing with your point of view? And this all happens with grammar and vocabulary, but not on a linguistic basis, but on a basis of working with others. And that's why life skills is so important. And it's in the book. That's why courses now, like the Story Garden, include opportunities for you to develop these life skills from a very young age. Here we're talking about basic things like respect and being saying thank you and please and sorry, and also thinking about our mindset, what we're good at, accepting that we can't always win, but sometimes we just have to try. And I've been to Peru, and I've been to many countries, and it's great. You see this on the walls around the classrooms about life skills, doing your best, never give up. So I'm not telling you that, this is something new for you. I'm sure that you're already teaching it. I'm just glad to say that in this book, with all the cartoon stories and language that you can teach on top and through the story, you also have this opportunity to develop effective communication and life skills that allow the pupils to work with English, in English, but also knowing that they're developing as people with personalities and things like stress. We all have stress. Pupils have stress. Let us teach them like being another parent. I mean, isn't it like being another parent for the kids, when they come to school? And sadly, many young people don't have a good family life, and they don't have good role models at school. So we can make this happen in our classrooms on top of the English, and it's absolutely relevant. It's not away from grammar. Grammar and vocabulary are only the skeleton of language, but how we move the body is the way that we use the language effectively. There's a lovely thing here called the lap book, and this is a component in the course. If you look on the right-hand side, you can see it's full of make and do activities, arts and crafts and things that the kids can cut up and stick and make, and flashcards and spinners and puppets. That's called the lap book. So if you do find out more about this course, I've already ordered mine because I love these things. So the next time I'm doing a presentation, I'm going to be showing teachers what I've made with my lap books, and there's one for every level. And as I finish now and say thank you for listening, Ellie has language games too. So in the classroom, you have board games, and there's one there on telling fairy tales. That's perfect. And the story maker, there's one there on checking out famous people, and they have so many games, board games, you know, with dice and counters and little figures for all age groups. And I think I love to mention the games because the kids love to play games, don't they? And they also would need to read. They also have to learn about a reading habit. So Ellie Publishing have not just got this course, they do reading materials for all ages, all levels. And as I said, they have these games that you can work with. And of course, they are specific to language areas. Some games focus on certain kinds of topics or certain aspects of language, like adjectives or the preposition game and things like that. So I'll leave information at the end so you know how to find out more. But if you have the books, there's only 5 here, but there are 6 levels. And when you buy a book, there's always a unique code in the back of the book, and that allows you free access to look at every page and interact. You can play the videos, you can play the audio, and you can open the exercises to become interactive. And that's fantastic if you are teaching remotely. I don't have time to show you that now, but you can go into any page and click on the activities, and the students can work with you to fill them in digitally. So it's a whiteboard activity when you're in the classroom, or you can work remotely. So that's the Story Garden from what Ellie is calling a digital hub, which is their brand new platform for working with their courses. So there you have it. And I'd like to say thank you again. It's a primary course. It's in British English, and it takes you from pre-A1 to A2 for 6 to 11 years. And it's been a delight to show you some of the materials and some of the ways that I would use the cartoons and the stories to engage the students, to see the value of what they're doing. And please keep in touch with us. There you have, you know who the people are at Nutesa, my lovely friends. I do miss you, and I do hope I can come out to Peru when the situation becomes easier. This slide, and all these slides will be available to you in a day or two from my colleagues. Thank you, Patty and Fiorella. And to all of you, my email is there. If anybody wants to contact me, please do so. And thank you so much for taking part and for giving up your time. I mean, it's tiring and you're busy. So I think well done, and congratulations for you for finding more time to, and remember what I said at the beginning, find 2 moments in the week for the next few weeks to go through these sessions and remember some of the best things. Some things maybe not so useful, but there's always something you can try in the classroom. So thank you for listening. Thank you to Nutesa for inviting me. Always a pleasure to work with you. Thank you again.
Okay, thank you so much, Andy, because it was an enriching session, I think, for all of our teachers. And it's important, the final thing that you are telling us about life skills. Yes, because they are so important. You know that we at our academic department, we have designed a guide to work with soft skills, and it's the best match, I think, the perfect match with this garden, story garden.
Because like I said, you know, there are 2 things happening here with young children. Stories, okay, we expect that. But let's remember, you know, through all their years, and everybody's going to use stories. Anybody here, even when you finish this webinar, I'm sure that you might tell a story to somebody about what you saw. That's a story. But life skills, it's not a separate subject. We're teaching people to be good collaborators and workers, students, and this only happens, it doesn't happen with perfect grammar. It happens with the way you use the language. And by doing that with life skills, you see the value, and the benefits come through being, you know, a good person with good friends and maybe, you know, good colleagues in your future working life. I really believe that.
Yes, you are right. You are right. And we teach children and or adolescents or even adults. Yes, we have to teach this in an integrated way, and we know as teachers. Yes, so thank you so much.
Thank you. Yeah.
you very
Thank
much.
you, Andy. Thank you. It's always a
pleasure.
pleasure.
Thank you.
Always a pleasure to count on you, right? Thank you so
Yes.
much. Hoping to see you.
Thank you, everybody.
Hoping to see you
Thank you.
here.
What else
Thank
we
you.
have? What else we
Thank you.
have, Lourdes?
Now it's time. Well, before our raffle, we have something very important. Yes, Patricia. Because you
Yeah.
know that we have the survey. We have a
Okay.
survey, yes, to fill in. Don't forget. Estimados profesores, tenemos nuestra encuesta. Por favor, estamos en este momento enviándoles el enlace en este chat. Please check in the chat box y tenemos la encuesta para que vayan ustedes llenándola. Besides, we have, well, the raffle, the prizes.
Of course, the prices.
Yes, okay.
Here we are with the prices. Yes, we have virtual courses for you, dear teachers. You know that we need to be updated, right? And yes, you know that we work together with CTS, our friends, our partners, and they have a virtual program, a training virtual program that is going to be held on the first bimester. Okay, so para el primer bimestre tenemos estos premios que ya los hemos venido sorteando desde la primera sesión. Vamos a tener tres becas para estos cursos virtuales, ¿ok? Lo que mencionaba Lourdes también, hemos estado pasando durante toda la sesión el link para tener sus datos para el certificado y para participar en este sorteo. Y ahora Aimee les está poniendo en el chat box el link de la encuesta. Ya saben que su opinión es muy valiosa para nosotros, para seguir con estas capacitaciones, con estos webinars y siempre tratando de hacer las cosas de la mejor forma posible. ¿Ok? So yes, Lourdes?
Yes. I think we have the photos too.
Yes. So I'm going to
It's
stop
time to
sharing.
take a photo with Andy.
Of course. Turn on your cameras, please, for our second session photographs. Yeah, yeah. Thank you. Say hello.
Our speaker today.
Aimee va a tomarnos las fotos. Aimee, yes.
Are you ready, Aimee?
Thank you. Friendly faces. Aimee, ¿listo? ¿Nos avisas en cuanto ya esté listo?
Okay. Prendan sus cámaras.
Enciendan sus cámaras. Turn on your cameras.
Listo. Unos 3 segundos y ya está.
Listo. Okay, thank you. Aimee is our commercial representative from the north, right? Trujillo, okay? And she is helping us, of course. And Benji, who is our commercial representative from Arequipa. Yes, from the south. He's going to be in charge of the raffle. Yes.
Yes, here we go with the raffle. So we have the names here. Okay, so the participants 72, and we're going to see who is the winner, right? Okay, so let's see.
Three winners, three prizes.
3 winners, yes. If they are not here, so we're going to have 2 more options, or 3 more options.
Excellent,
yes?
excellent, that's good.
Yeah. Okay, very good. That's it. Let's start. 1, 2, 3.
Hey,
Good luck, everybody. Okay.
Hey, María Alejandra Maceda
is here. María Alejandra Maceda, yes, she is here.
Are you here? Yes.
Yes. Aleida, Miss Aleida is here too, Patricia.
Aleida Medina, oh, my family. And Georgette Vanessa Barreda.
Yes, 2 from Arequipa.
Oh, well.
Yes.
Yes. So the 3 of them are here. Yes.
Barrera Vargas, Georgette. Is Barrera Vargas here? Yes. I don't think so.
I don't know.
No, she's not here.
Oh, she's not here.
Oh.
So, well, let's see who is the first.
Emperatriz Esquives Cairo. Are you here?
Emperatriz.
Yes.
I think she is
yes, she's there.
Thank you, Miss Patricia. Thank you, Miss Patricia. I call you. Yes, I call you. I can't.
But Patty
No,
lovers.
Don't say
I
that
can.
because probably teachers are going to think
Beautiful,
that you were
all.
calling me
Beautiful.
because of the raffle.
Excellent, excellent.
Yes,
Thank you very
okay.
much.
Thank you.
Okay.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Take
Congratulations.
notes
to
of the winners, please. Aime, tomando nota de los ganadores. Don't worry, Miss Emperatriz.
Sí, ya lo tengo anotado.
Okay, thank you.
And
And I have
Patricia,
something else to share
Yes,
with you.
important for tomorrow.
Yes, for tomorrow. Tomorrow we are inviting you for this session for parents, for all the family, right? For all the family. Este es el ciclo de webinars que hemos venido nosotros desarrollando desde inicios de la pandemia con nuestro ciclo Dialoguemos en Familia. Y ahora que ya estamos muy pronto para el retorno, para saber exactamente cómo vamos a alimentar a los chicos, ¿no? Entonces acá vamos a tener con nuestra especialista, la licenciada
Es una
Josefina.
nutricionista.
Una nutricionista
Así es,
especialista, ¿ok? Y mañana va a compartir importantes consejos y bueno, creo que todos vamos a sacar mucho de importante para nuestras familias. Así que los invitamos a que compartan con todos los papitos, con sus familias y acá estamos mañana a las 6 de la tarde.
Así
¿Ok?
es.
So, what else? Just to say goodbye.
Bye.
See you at what time?
God bless you.
4
Nice
o'clock.
presentation.
4
I
o'clock.
love it.
Thank you.
then.
At 4 o'clock. 4 o'clock.
Okay,
our
thank
first
you.
session. The same link, the same Zoom link. Okay?
All right.
You can get in the
Thank you.
same
Thank
Zoom
you.
link. 4 o'clock. We'll see you. Thank
Yes.
you.
All right.
See you at
Bye
4.
bye. Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
Bye, Christina. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Goodbye.
Thank you.
Closing the room.
Yes, close